After years of working with builders and seeing where they're buying, I'm convinced a huge amount of future housing growth will continue happening on the edge of many existing cities. And if you own land in one of those areas, there's a good chance demand for your property has already increased and may continue increasing as growth moves outward. Hey, it's Evan Zener with Metro Land Pro. I help landowners understand land markets, development trends, and how those things can affect their property. In this video, I'm going to walk you through where builders are buying land, what's driving that demand, and what it could mean if you own land in the path of that growth. What I'm seeing from builders, here's what I'm seeing. The majority of builders I speak with aren't looking for a single lot. They're looking for opportunities to create housing at scale. And for a lot of them, that search points outward, towards surrounding communities and growth areas where larger development opportunities are easier to find. That's not all builders. There's still plenty of activity in cities, redevelopments, apartments, and higher density projects. But when the goal is to build many homes rather than a few, builders are often looking towards surrounding communities and growth areas. The big national home builders are buying a tremendous amount of land in suburban locations, and it will take years from the time they purchase the land until those homes are built and sold. These builders are making long-term bets on where they believe housing demand will be in the future. Why growth is moving outward? A lot of it comes down to three things: land, cost, and demand. The first is land. America underbuilt housing for years, and builders still need large amounts of future lot inventory to keep producing homes at scale. That's hard to do in dense urban areas because most cities are already heavily built out, and large developable sites are increasingly difficult to find or simply don't exist. The second is cost. Where urban land does exist, it tends to be more expensive, and so are many of the permits and fees that come with development. When you're working on a smaller site and producing fewer units, those costs can be harder to spread out. The third is demand. Builders aren't just buying land because it's available. They're buying it because they believe people will continue wanting the type of housing these communities can provide. And demographics are doing a lot of the heavy lifting. Millennials, one of the largest generations in American history, are now in their 30s and early 40s. This is the life stage where a lot of people start having kids, need more space, want a yard, and begin thinking more seriously about school districts. That life cycle shift has always pointed towards the suburbs. Remote work accelerated this trend even further by making distance from the office less important for many households. And from a housing product standpoint, suburban development is still where builders can most effectively deliver the type of housing a large percentage of families are looking for: detached homes, townhomes, larger lots, and master planned communities. Put those together, and it's pretty clear why so much builder activity continues moving towards suburban communities and growth areas. What this means if you own land in the path of growth. If you own land in the path of growth, the most direct implication is this: your land is likely worth more today than it was a few years ago, and could be worth significantly more as growth continues pushing outward. But it's worth understanding why that happens, because it's not just attention, there are real mechanics behind it. The first is timing. As growth moves closer, the timeline for development often becomes shorter and more certain. A property that might be developed someday is worth far less than a property that could realistically be developed in the foreseeable future. The closer that timeline gets, often the more valuable the potential becomes. The second is infrastructure. Sewer, water, roads, and utilities often extend outward as development occurs. If neighboring projects bring those services into the area, your property can become easier and less expensive to develop. And the lower the development costs means a builder is able to pay more for the land. The third is risk. Early on, there are a lot of unknowns. Will the city support growth here? Will zoning change? Will utilities arrive? As nearby projects get approved and built, those questions start getting answered. And less risk generally translates into higher land values. And finally, the market gets proven. Once homes are built and sold nearby, builders have evidence that buyers want to live there. They're no longer making a speculative bet, they're following demonstrated demand. That tends to draw in more builders, and more potential buyers competing for land create higher values. That doesn't mean every piece of suburban land works for builders. Site constraints, entitlement risk, utility access, and local market conditions still determine whether a property actually works for development. But if you're sitting in the path of that expansion, these are the forces working in your favor, and they directly affect how builders evaluate your property compared to just a few years ago. If you own land on the edge of a growing area and you're trying to understand what it could be worth as development keeps pushing outward, I can evaluate your property and where you stand. That means looking at whether your property sits in the path of where builders are headed, how they're likely to evaluate it, and what kind of demand could be coming as the area continues to grow. You can reach me at evan@metrolandpro.com or visit metrolandpro.com. I'm Evan Zener with Metro Land Pro. I'm licensed in Oregon and assist sellers nationwide. If this was helpful, please like and subscribe. It helps more landowners find this kind of information. Thank you.